Birmingham's a steel town. Birmingham was built in the late 1800s by the barons from the north who came down and realized that we had every combination. We had people, we had natural resources, we had rubber transportation.
It grew by leaps and bounds. It was known as the Magic City because it grew so fast. But you had people coming in, laboring class people, blue collar town. And it was a violent town.
It was a town of union violence, the violence against workers condoned by the police and by United States Steel and the other big industrial companies. It had a long history of labor violence. So you had a tradition of violence flowing out of an industrial setting with the overlay of rural racism coming in from the countryside, traditional Old South racism.
With that background, the 50s were a time of quietness here. Wonderful place to live and raise a family.
Birmingham was just Birmingham. White, colored, not white, black, white, colored.
You would have to have lived here to understand some of the feelings that were going on at that time.
Black people were in that place and white folks were there, if that's such a thing. And the water fountains, black and white, and all of those kind of things existed, and they existed in order.
You may see in some of the pictures, cabs would say color only, cabs would say white only, bathrooms at the bus station, white only.
I have an older brother, and there were two of us, like 9, 10 months apart, and my mother would have to make a choice. And she would always just let one of us drink from the white fountain, one of us drink from the black fountain. And she knew that that was in violation of the law, but she did it anyway.
And it was so hard to tell your child, you're 6 or 7 years old, and it's time for water. They wanted some water. And maybe the child attempted to go to a fountain that was marked for white, and you would have to tell him, no, let's take this fountain, rather than, and say, well, why can't I go to them? There's nobody there. So, well, no, we'll just use this one. It was an awful time. It was an awful time for young people, I'd say, to grow up in this city.
But my daughter, Denise, was about 6 years old, and I've always despised going shopping with my wife because my patience doesn't hold to go shopping. But at any rate, this was Christmas and we were shopping, and we had come to the store, in fact it was Presses, going in there and buy some ribbons. And when we got into Presses, Denise said she had to go to the restroom, so we went downstairs where the restroom were black and white again, black and colored, I beg your pardon, white and colored. And so when we got down there, the lunch counter was also in there. You could smell the onion, the hamburger, and Denise said she wanted a sandwich.
And it was kind of painful to say, no, you can't have it. She wanted to know why. And we had to tell her the sage-old story about whites only can eat here, but we can't. We'll eat when we get home. She didn't understand that so hard.
That was the night that I made up my mind that I guess I had to tell her that she couldn't have that sandwich because she was black.
I guess for men it's worse than it is for women. Because they are more sensitive, or I guess that's what you might call it. They hate to say, well, my child can't do what everybody else's child can do. And it makes me mad that I can't do anything about it. I can't change it right now.
I want you to know that night couldn't have been any more painful than seeing her laying up there with a rock smashed in her head than to tell her that I couldn't buy her that sandwich down there because she was black. And I'm not sure she ever understood that.
How'd she react when you told her that?
Very strange, very confused, and as if the whole world of betrayal had fallen on her at that moment.
I remember Carol as a very vivacious, lovable 14-year-old. The third child of Alpha and Alvin, and very well loved and taken care of in the family, and quite active in her schoolwork, quite active in her church work.
I always remember when she was born, my father telling me that I was standing outside in front of the house with my skates on, announcing to everybody that I had a brand new baby sister, and I was so happy to have a little sister.
Carol was a very giving, outgoing person. She had a lot of friends,
She was a beautiful daughter. She was, average kid growing up. She was smart. She played music. She was a scout, an avid reader. She worked with the library assistants groups in the city and state. She took dancing lessons. She played piano.
I used to have to take her to the movies, the Saturday movies with me. They were segregated, and we'd have to go upstairs into the balcony. We'd sit and we'd throw popcorn and ice. We would throw them down on the white folks. And she always thought that was real funny, but she knew that we were not supposed to be doing that. And so it was like, I'm gonna tell.
She played clarinet in the band at elementary school and high school. She was supposed to play her first game that Monday night after the bomb, and the band was supposed to play. Parker was playing somebody I forgot who. This is her last